Part 1. The Presidential Curse. What if becoming president means signing a silent contract with fate? Power is seductive. It draws people in like a flame. But what if that flame burns more than ambition? What if it scorches your fate? Across history, the presidency has promised glory, but delivered tragedy. Nowhere is this more eerily consistent than in South Korea, a modern democracy with a record that reads more like a Shakespearean tragedy. Nearly every president since the 1980s has ended their term in disgrace. Some imprisoned, others exiled. A few even met darker ends. And recently, President Yoon Suk-yeol was impeached and now faces a rare and chilling charge: rebellion, a crime that, under Korean law, can carry a sentence of life imprisonment or death. In whispered conversations across Seoul, one phrase keeps surfacing: the Blue House is cursed. Those who enter it may rise like kings, but they seldom walk out whole. But South Korea is not alone in this strange pattern. Look across the Pacific to its closest ally, the United States. Since its founding, 9 American presidents have been targeted while in office. For Lincoln, Garfield, McKinley, and Kennedy did not survive. Add in sudden illnesses, plane crashes, near misses, and scandals, and you reach a haunting number. 31% of U.S. presidents have faced death or disaster while in power. Coincidence? Or something darker? People love to believe power protects. But what if power attracts destruction? What if the very buildings where history is written, the Blue House, the White House, are not sanctuaries, but magnets for misfortune? As we peel back the layers of marble, ceremony, and legacy, we'll explore a question few dare to ask. Does the most powerful seat in the world carry a price written not in laws, but in fate? Part 2. The Haunted House of Power. The White House isn't just a building. It's a battlefield of unseen forces. At 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue stands one of the most iconic structures in the world, a grand neoclassical mansion draped in flags and power. But beneath the polished marble floors, behind the red-carpeted halls and velvet-lined rooms, lies a history soaked not just in politics, but in shadows. The White House was born from vision and violence. Commissioned by George Washington in 1792, it took 8 years to build. Ironically, the man who started the project never got to live in it. Washington stepped down before its completion and died just 1 year later. The first president to call it home, John Adams, stayed only a few months before he too was gone. In 1814, during the War of 1812, British troops stormed Washington, D.C. and set the White House ablaze. Only the scorched stone walls remained. It was a symbolic fire, as if history itself was trying to erase what had just begun. And when it was rebuilt, the government painted it white to hide the burn marks. That's where the name White House was born. But that white paint couldn't wash away the legacy of violence. Over the next 2 centuries, this house of power expanded. New wings were added, secret rooms built, a nuclear bunker dug deep below. Today, it holds over 130 rooms, a movie theater, hidden passageways, and perhaps the most closely guarded space on Earth, the Oval Office. Yet for all its security, the White House has never been safe. It's seen assassination plots unfold within its gates. It's witnessed breakdowns, betrayals, scandals. FDR died in office. Kennedy was shot while still in his prime. Reagan was nearly killed. Lincoln never even lived to see the end of the war he led. And then there are the rumors of secret underground tunnels, of spirits wandering its halls, of rooms that seem to breathe when no one is inside. Some say it's not just haunted by ghosts, but by destiny itself. Could a place built for leadership also be cursed to destroy it? As we step deeper into the White House's hidden corners, we must ask, is this a home for presidents or a trap they're destined never to leave whole? Part 3, The Invisible Forces. To understand what you can't see, you need to look from above. From street level, the White House is just majestic, an American symbol, a stronghold of democracy. But from the sky, it tells a different story. Look closely. The north-facing entrance, the axis aligning perfectly with the Earth's magnetic field, and the streets fanning out like blades around the structure, cutting across unseen energy lines. To some, this is architectural beauty. To others, particularly those who understand Feng Shui, it's a warning. According to traditional Eastern philosophy, where you build a house, how it breathes with the land, where it faces, what flows around it, these aren't just aesthetic details. They shape fate. And the White House, by those rules, is in trouble. It sits with its back to the south and its face to the north, a direct contradiction to ideal Feng Shui, which favors south-facing homes for warmth, light, and fortune. Worse, the White House lies on a powerful magnetic meridian, an energetic artery where natural forces collide. When not properly harmonized, these dragon lines can transform into channels of chaos, pushing in what experts call sha-qi, killing energy. This energy, they say, doesn't attack the walls. It attacks the people within them. Now recall the history. Abraham Lincoln, assassinated. James Garfield, shot. William McKinley, gunned down. John F. Kennedy, struck in daylight. All while in service or campaigning for their second terms. All within the influence of the House. Add in sudden deaths, mysterious illnesses, scandals erupting from thin air. Coincidence or consequence? But perhaps the most unnerving detail lies just beneath the earth. 2 rivers, the Potomac and Anacostia, surround the land like serpents. Water in Feng Shui is life, flow, abundance. But too much water, especially when uncontrolled, becomes unstable. It floods energy. It floods fate. The area where these rivers meet lies southwest of the White House, a sector traditionally associated with women, family, and balance. When disrupted, it's believed to bring illness, power struggles, and, ironically, problems with authority. Maybe that's why the White House is rarely calm for long. Maybe, just maybe, the chaos that unfolds inside its walls doesn't come from politics, but from something buried deeper, something ancient, something invisible. Part 4. The Woman Who Almost Ruled. Sometimes power is blocked, not by politics, but by energy. In 2016, the world watched history edge toward a new chapter. Hillary Clinton, seasoned politician, former First Lady, Secretary of State, stood poised to become the first female president of the United States. Every poll pointed a victory. The odds seemed written in stone. But on the eve of triumph, everything unraveled. Emails, scandal, silence, then the final blow. She lost. But what if it wasn't just politics? What if something deeper, unseen, was at play? Feng Shui, the ancient art of spatial energy, warns about the southwest corner of any structure. In traditional metaphysics, this area governs feminine power. It's the domain of mothers, matriarchs, and female leaders. When that energy is blocked, so too is the path of women. And where does the White House's troubled energy converge? You guessed it, the Southwest. It's not just symbolic. That sector of the estate, shadowed by trees and cut by distorted flow lines from the nearby rivers, is believed to channel unstable energy. In Feng Shui, this creates a kind of spiritual friction with female authority. It's not about belief, it's about energy imbalance. No woman has ever held the presidency. Not one. Clinton came closest, and even she couldn't cross the threshold. Was it her campaign's fault? Her opponents? Her own? Or was it the house itself, rejecting her? Some say it's superstition. Others point to the decades of failed bids by female candidates and shake their heads. But the stories keep stacking. The patterns repeat, and the house, ever silent, seems to whisper the same thing. Power here is not freely given. It chooses, and it resists. Was Hillary's fall a political misstep or a spiritual blockade? Was the energy of the White House already aligned against her? Part 5. Trump and the Secrets of the East. He didn't just believe in Feng Shui. He used it. In the cutthroat world of real estate, Donald Trump wasn't always a symbol of success. By the early 1990s, he was sinking, drowning in debt, stuck with undeveloped land, and watching once bright towers turn into burdens. Investors vanished. Banks closed their doors. Hope was fading. Then came the East. Through a business connection, Trump met two powerful real estate moguls from Hong Kong, Chun Case and Vin Lau. They agreed to invest, but only on one condition. A Feng Shui master had to approve the property. It was a strange demand, one Trump didn't understand. But he agreed. The master walked the land, studied its curves, measured the water flow, then smiled. This, he said, is a place of flowing fortune. Dragon veins run beneath. The deal was signed. That one moment, quiet, seemingly small, sparked a transformation. Trump began to study Feng Shui not as a belief, but as a tool. A method, a system that, in his words, makes me money. A year later, in 1994, Trump set out to renovate a struggling tower near Columbus Circle in Manhattan. The building had always failed, despite its perfect location. Then his Feng Shui advisor made a discovery. The building's front door faced the traffic vortex, where energy spun violently and collided with steel. Their solution? Rotate the entrance to face Central Park toward trees, stillness, growth. They added a golden orb to the south corner of the building, a symbol of balance and power known in Feng Shui as the Dragon's Pearl. Within months, tenants returned. Deals surged. The tower thrived. Trump never looked back. He began aligning his interiors to elemental harmony. Red for energy, gold for wealth, mirrors to redirect negativity. He didn't chant. He didn't meditate. He just shifted the physical world and watched fortune follow. So when Trump stepped into politics, he brought more than just slogans. He brought a map, drawn not by pollsters, but by energy. And when he entered the White House, insiders say, he quietly adjusted the layout, moved objects, changed colors, aligned certain doors. Why? Because he believed the power of the house wasn't just in its title. It was in its bones. Part 6, the shot that missed. He ducked by inches, and history took a different turn. It was just another campaign rally until it wasn't. June 13th, 2024. A quiet afternoon at the Bleer Ranch in Pennsylvania. Supporters gathered under the soft gold of the setting sun, waving signs, chanting slogans. Donald Trump, once again the front-runner in the race for the presidency, stepped onto the stage. The music faded. He raised a hand to greet the crowd. And then chaos. A crack split the air. Then another. 8 shots, fired in under 10 seconds from a rooftop in the distance. One bullet tore through the sleeve of Trump's jacket, grazing the skin of his hand. Another struck a supporter in the crowd, instantly fatal. 2 more found others. Screams echoed. The Secret Service swarmed. Trump ducked instinctively, crouched low, then stood, still alive, barely bleeding. He looked out into the panic and, in a moment that would replay 1,000,000 times over, raised his fist. Defiant, unshaken. The shooter, a trained marksman, was taken down on the spot. But the question that spread faster than any headline wasn't about who pulled the trigger. It was about why he missed. Experts later reviewed the trajectory, wind speed, even the angle of Trump's head. The margin between survival and history-changing tragedy? Less than 2 inches. Some called it reflex, others a miracle. But among those who had studied Trump's destiny chart, his birth hour, his elemental cycle, there was another theory. The shooting happened during a rare astrological window, a collision of fire and metal energies, known in Eastern metaphysics to amplify danger, but also reveal hidden protection. Trump's natal chart, built on strong earth elements, was, at that exact moment, in harmony with this clash. Not repelled by it, but shielded. It sounded impossible, magical, foolish, maybe. But he survived. And not just survived, he stood up like a man who'd stared fate in the eye and walked away smirking. Was it timing? Destiny? Something written in the stars? Or had he somehow bent the invisible rules of the game once more? Part 7. Destiny written in the stars. What if the stars aligned, not by chance but by design? Some believe leaders are chosen by the people. Others believe they're chosen by the stars. In the case of Donald Trump, some say it's both. After the 2024 assassination attempt, curiosity around Trump's survival exploded, not just among political analysts, but among astrologers, metaphysicists, and students of fate. They turned to his Bazi chart, a traditional Chinese astrological system based on birth time and elemental cycles. And what they found was more than unusual. It was uncanny. Trump was born on June 14th, 1946, at 10:54 a.m., a moment encoded with young earth, fire, and metal elements. These are not just abstract symbols. They represent dominance, volatility, and transformation. But what raised eyebrows even higher was when this chart was laid beside the founding chart of the United States, dated July 4th, 1776. For out of 6 heavenly stems identical, both charts share the Jayap No month, a fire element associated with powerful leadership and dramatic rise, or fall. And both contain Tam Hop Hoa Cuc, a rare triple fire alignment believed to generate political magnetism, charismatic influence, and disruptive power. It was as if Trump wasn't just born into politics. He was born tuned to America's frequency. This alignment, astrologers claimed, created a window, an era where his personal destiny synced with that of the nation. A window of impact, influence, and chaos. And that window, according to several metaphysical experts, spans from 2016 to 2028, 12 years, the length of one full elemental cycle in the Chinese calendar. But no alignment lasts forever. By 2029, the charts begin to diverge. Trump's luck pillars shift toward conflict with a national flow. The elements no longer harmonize, they clash. What was once synergy becomes friction. And so, the question looms large. Was his rise inevitable? Is his fall already written? As one astrologer whispered in an obscure Chinese language forum, in the country are one flame, burning hot, burning fast. But the fuel is finite. Destiny doesn't always offer explanations. Sometimes it just hands you a match and watches what you do with it. Part 8. The final turn of the compass. No empire lasts forever, even when it's dressed in gold. All flames, no matter how bright, eventually flicker. And in the case of Donald Trump, the flame has burned hotter than most. Astrologers studying his fate say his peak isn't behind him. Not yet. The charts speak of 2026 and 2027 as years of extraordinary potential, where elemental fire fuels the earth of his birth. It's a last surge, A final crescendo. The stars align one more time, offering a wave of strength, charisma, and influence. The kind that changes headlines. The kind that bends nations. But every chart has a shadow. As 2028 approaches, something changes. The elements shift. Water begins to rise. In Chinese metaphysics, water controls fire, douses it, weakens it, and water is coming. For Trump, whose Bazi chart is built on fire and earth, the transition is not just symbolic. It's structural. His support pillars begin to erode. What once held him up, luck, momentum, cosmic timing, starts to shake. Quietly at first, then louder, and then it falls. The warnings aren't dramatic, they're subtle. The increased risk of health issues, a sudden drop in public favor, scattered energy, diminished drive. And for a man who has thrived on domination, that slow dissolve might be the cruelest fate of all. But is it just the aging of a political titan? Or is it written in something deeper? The final years of a fate cycle, especially one fueled by fire, are rarely peaceful. There's often one last blaze, a final display. But what follows is not always a gentle fade. Sometimes it's collapse. And so, we return to the core question. Was this all chance? A story of political skill, media strategy, and brute resilience? Or was it designed long ago by invisible forces? A man whose birth chart echoed that of a nation, who burned during years of fire, who bent fate, aligned symbols, and even walked away from bullets. But now the map turns. The compass moves. His fortune rises. Then it turns. Because no throne is permanent. And even kings, especially kings, are subject to the stars. So now we ask you, do you believe in destiny? Or was it all just a game of shadows and light?